Hello, Namaste, and welcome to my channel. I'm your host Nagesh Deshpande. Today, we are going to discuss a very interesting new topic. Now that AI is there just outside our doors, we are going to discuss who will run the agile projects. Is it human or is it AI? To discuss on this very interesting topic, we have a new speaker, Tamal Kanti Mukherjee. Tamal is a technology leader, AI evangelist. He is a founder of a fast growing AI organization, consultancy, and training firm named FHCC, that is the Fly High Group. To discuss on this, let's welcome Tamal.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deshpande. It's a pleasure to be here, getting a chance to have a conversation on this topic. Thank you so much.
Great. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. What about you?
I'm
All
good.
correct.
Yeah, I'm doing good. And
Awesome.
just a curious question. So, which part of India you are from?
I'm from Kolkata, even though
Kolkata.
I'm on business travel right now, but
Okay,
I'm actually from Kolkata, based out of Kolkata.
nice. And uh, like to my audience or for information of Tamal, we do recordings on every weekend and then we publish new episode on every Monday. So subscribe to my channel, watch this video till the end and do share your comments in the comment box. So Tamal, this is a very interesting discussion happening all over the world right now
Yes.
when the AI is coming here. So let's start with a very bold question here. Like, what do you feel? Is it a AI better to run the project, or is it a human better to run the project? What do you think? What's your views on that?
So absolutely, I think that's a fair question. In fact, all of us are trying to find an answer to that particular question.
Right,
Now, having said that, if we look into a project is bound to have two elements. One is the repetitive tasks. So
right,
when you talk about a project, it's about a set of tasks which are to be performed. Whether we talk about any agile kind of project or for that matter, any traditional project. And then there are the human elements in the project. Now, basically, it is going to be a combination of both or the collaboration of both. So, basically, for all these repetitive kind of tasks which we have here, AI is going to play a significant role moving ahead. In fact, it has already started playing a role. But for the human elements, human will still be the preferred one. So I'll probably give one quick anecdote. Suppose if there is a daily Scrum meeting, or for that matter, any daily meeting happen even in a traditional project management kind of a scenario, there is this activity of note taking. So that note taking AI can really do it without getting tired. Even on a Monday morning after a long weekend, it will come and it can do that. But if there is a emotional conflict between two members, which can really happen in an actual project scenario, like you are a very AI will not be able to solve that. Or if people are a little pulled back on a Monday morning, so AI will not be able to go ahead and solve on that. So it is going to be a combination of both. And this is how probably the future will look like.
right. I really doubt the AI will be able to handle Monday blues of people.
Yes,
It won't be able. I really doubt it will take a lot of time to fix Monday blues. For that,
absolutely.
you need a human to talk and
Absolutely.
understand the emotion of people and provide that empathy to
Yes.
your team. Now, what are the first signs that you have seen where AI is already influencing the agile practices? One of the things that you mentioned, notes taking. Any
Correct.
other things?
Yeah. So from my experience, what I had seen while working in the projects and then working right now as the founder of a consultancy firm, some of the tasks where AI is really fitting well, like other than the one which I have already mentioned. So if we look into the user story creation, So user
Okay.
story creation used to be a really cognitive work requiring a lot of bandwidth. That is where AI can really pitch in. The productivity goes up in terms of generation of the user story creation. If there is any decision augmentation which is there, that is where it is also coming into play. And there is a fundamental dimensional difference between how human minds generally used to work and how AI is working. For AI, it is more insight driven instead
Right.
of the intuition driven approach of the human mind. So, if I have to just give one example, earlier the humans involved in the meetings or in the agile practices, they can come up with that with a statement like, I feel this particular point is important. Instead of that, AI is suggesting that this feature is going to impact probably 70% of users. So it becomes more insight driven. So these are the early signs which I had noted. These are the top three which are coming to my mind.
Can you really think or see the realistically AI can take over the activities like retrospective maybe or maybe planning? Do you think that is going to happen?
So once again, one thing here is that complete replacement of human being definitely it is not going to happen, because even if we look
Correct.
into how AI is working, fundamentally when we are talking about replacing human being, we are actually getting into the agentic AI, which is where we are talking about multiple agents or a single agent coming into play. But completely that replacement cannot happen due to the human element which would be there in all the pointers on all the activities which would be there. But we if we look into the various tasks which are involved in, for example, you talked about the stand-up meetings, you talked about the sprint planning meeting or the retrospective meeting. So there the summarization, for example, is one of the
Mhm.
tasks that we do. That is something which really AI can do, compared to really fast compared to the human minds. If there is a sprint planning, once again, it has to be co-piloted, because AI can come up with a lot of suggestions, which probably human minds, even a team can't quickly come up with. But basically, after that, the control should be with the human who
Right.
are driving the project. So, partially, yes, but how AI ideally should be treated, I think it's a very good intern with a lot of potential, but it's not a subject matter expert or a project manager who has been doing a lot of work since the last multiple years. It cannot replace that. So that is how probably how we can think of AI potentially taking over some of these activities.
Nice. And then now we just discussed, we already
Yes.
partially answered about it, but
Yeah.
I still want to hear your views on this one. Will AI replace or how it will change the dynamics of the work of Scrum Masters and product owners?
So taking a cue from the last discussion which we had, what is going to happen? The roles of Scrum Masters and product owners are going to evolve. It is not
Right.
going to become irrelevant. It is going to evolve. So if I take this example during 1980s, if people were conversant in writing an email, that used to be a skill, because right at that point of time that was something which came really new. But if you
Right.
look into the present recruitments that all of us do, we do not ask a Gen Z candidate that whether you know how to write an email or not, because that has become a part of the muscle memory of everyone. So that is
Right.
something which is going to happen as a part of the skill set of Scrum Masters and product owners as well. So their role is going to evolve so that they would be able to manage the agents who are coming from the agentic AI systems. But definitely, their role will still be very much relevant. They will be having an additional tool, and it is going to help them out. So that is the thing. Scrum Masters, rather AI is going to take Scrum Masters to places. So this is how we should be looking at it,
Right.
in my
So,
opinion.
yeah, right. You rightly mentioned about the evolution that we had, you know. So
Right.
early 80s, 90s, we used to check whether the person is able to write emails, English
Yes.
language, the grammar and all that.
Yes.
And later, next part was whether this person was able to verbally communicating with the team members, people around him or her. that. Now, so after that, we started looking at whether people are able to communicate with the global teams, because we are globalized. We are talking with like various teams from different language, different culture. So we
Yes.
are trying to see now whether this person that we are hiring, whether he can communicate to the person who is a French national, is speaking Spanish, maybe speaking Portuguese, maybe, or Afrikaans, different languages. We are also trying to see that. So this is the evolution is happening. Sooner,
Yes.
this evolution will also happen, whether these people are able to use AI, leverage AI, and you know, and able to communicate or use or taking drafts and notes around that. So soon that step will come. Now,
Absolutely.
like, do you have any real time use case about AI being used by any of the teams or group or projects?
Yes. So there are certain clients whom I am actually handling with this and to the basic premises of AI, as we know that basically there are three broad types of AI. Firstly, we have the traditional AI or the predictive AI. Then we have the generative AI, and thirdly, we have the agentic AI, which came
Agent.
into the
Hmm.
scenario where the agents came into play. Now, there are what I am seeing in the real client scenarios. Generative AI is more or less getting stabilized now. Of course, traditional AI has already become stabilized because it is already there existing since the last 70 years. There's a lot of experiment which is happening with the agents because agents are basically goal oriented AI driven piece of application which we have. But if we look into the kind of accuracy we are having in terms of the overall quality of the output which the agents are coming up with, I'm talking about even the single agent system, not getting into the multi agent system kind of scenarios. For sensitive domains, it can really have serious implications. So
Okay.
we are still experimenting with that. We're trying to offload some of the activities. Like if there is a scope to use generative AI, we are using that. To some extent, yes, for some of the basic tasks, we are getting into the agents as well. Like, for example, a summarizer agent has become really popular now because people understood more or less the premises on which the agents are built, which are basically, if we get into the technicality of it, is LLM, large language models, that is having good amount of context. But other than that, the domain specific context is still not there with the agent because we do not have that intelligence yet. So that is where we are not using it. But wherever we have the enough amount of context, that is where we are actually using the AI as an assistant, as I mentioned a while back, not as a replacement.
And let's assume that we have started using AI extensively, and how the things will look like a AI driven sprint and a human driven sprint.
So pretty much it is going to be a human driven sprint because AI once again would keep on acting as a very, very high potential intern. But one aspect which is still missing, if we get into the technical side of it also, even with all the machine learning and high-end deep learning algorithms, we could not create the human emotional intelligence element in case of the AI agents. So because
Yeah.
we have not created that, that would at least take another 8 to 10 years of time to be practical. So it would not be able to understand the Monday blues, as you rightly mentioned during the start of the conversation, because AI is not having that kind of perception, because there has to be an awareness which has to be built. So ultimately, the driver, the orchestrator would be the human being, and AI would be there always as a very strong team member, a very strong addition to the team. But ultimately, it is not the decision maker. That flow has to be controlled by the still the human scrum master.
Absolutely. Human is needed. Absolutely.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
now that there are various tools and and technologies are coming every day, new tool every for new, for notes taking there is a different tool, for designing there is a different tool, for
Yes.
image making there is a different tool. But what are the some of the tools and technologies that really bringing the change, enabling this today shift?
Yeah. So if we look into the two different aspects that we have, one is the generative AI aspect. So from a generative AI aspect, we have basically horses for courses. We have different AI tools which are actually working. Like, for example, if I have to work on something related to text, still ChatGPT and Copilot are the two best tools which we have. If we have to focus on some analysis related work as a part of the project planning, Claude still works the best. So we have that way different horses for courses when it comes to the generative AI kind of an application. Now, talking about the agent, where a lot of investment is already there in terms of handling the project, if we look into one of the game changers which is there are the frameworks. So the frameworks are actually helping all the project teams not just to go ahead and utilize the agents by creating something from the existing agents, but it's also helping to disrupt the project management scenarios. Some of the tools which I can, some of the frameworks rather, which I can name would be Autogen,
Okay.
LangChain, LangGraph. These are really fantastic frameworks which we have. With a little bit of knowledge about Python, one can go ahead and make use of this. Even if we look into some of the applications which we have, like a Copilot Studio, for example, even if someone is not from a coding background, that person can still go ahead and start making some of the agents. So these are some of the tools which are the game changers as far as the Gen AI and the agentic AI scenarios are concerned.
Nice. This is very important information, guys. So make a note of it. Try to use it. If you need help, you can reach out to us. Will provide you more details on about those tools.
Absolutely.
Now, yeah. Now coming on to today's last question,
Yeah.
is there a risk that teams are may become over dependent on AI?
So definitely the one word answer to that is yes, there is a huge risk, because what is happening, I'm interacting with a lot of clients who are very high on using AI. Now, the problem which is there, so if I actually look into the different strata of professionals, there are some professionals who are already thinking that it is an assistant for me. Some are thinking that it is the driver. Who are
Hmm.
thinking that it is the driver, for them there is a challenge, because they are actually stopping to think on their own, uploading a lot of their tasks to AI, because ultimately we have to understand AI is supposed to co-pilot the tasks. That's why, in fact, the tool is also named Copilot, which Microsoft and GitHub has come up with. So the idea is not to give it the full control and autopilot the scenario. So the risk is there for fast moving teams. It can, in first place, if you are completely dependent on AI, you can go in the wrong direction. So let me take one on a lighter note, one analogy. You have a very fast moving car, and you have to decide that which is the path that you need to take. If you decide instead of Delhi, you are going to head towards Mumbai, you will not be able to reach the desired destination in case you are planning to go to Delhi. So
Right.
that is what is happening with AI. So there is a risk. There should not be over dependence. Probably the perspective will come into play. Let's not look at it as a driver. That's probably the core point. Please look at it as a very strong assistant.
Great. Great discussion, Tamal. I really enjoyed the energy, the details that you brought to this discussion. From the entire audience of Agile Exploration Hub, I would like to say thank you.
Thank you so much, Deshpandeji. It was a pleasure being here, and I hope that the listeners will find some value from the discussion that we had.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay, sir. Thank you and bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.